Julie Bjelland is a psychotherapist, author, and founder of the online community Sensitive Empowerment with resources for highly sensitive people.
Welcome, everyone. So happy you're joining us live in the Sensitive Empowerment community. And we're here with Willow McIntosh. Hello, Willow.
Hi, Julie. Great to be here.
And please introduce us to today's topic that you picked.
Yes, certainly. So this is my favorite area to explore as HSPs. And it is around the area of how to discover our purpose as an HSP. And what interests me most about this is that it is my purpose to help other HSPs discover their purpose. And the piece that I'm really interested in exploring today is the advantage that we have as HSPs when it comes to identifying our own area of expertise, the area of life that interests us, and ultimately our purpose, because of our ability to process sensory information that much more deeply. There's a wonderful link between what interests us about the world and other people and how our higher sensory abilities, as I like to call them, such as empathy and our creative abilities, our ability to read circumstances and people in the way that we do, and how that assists us to create an area of service for the world within this context of who we are. So, and I'm very interested to hear how that occurs for you, Julie, and of course for everyone in the chat listening. So yes.
I love that you found your way to this, Willow, because you're such a shining example of how can we use the gifts that we have inside of us to help others. And that's really exciting that that's what you do, I've witnessed sessions of yours. I've heard from a lot of people talking about who have worked with you, that how much you've helped them find those gifts that that are inside. And I think as sensitive people, it's especially important for us because we need to do things that are meaningful. And we aren't able to just do a random job that doesn't have any meaning for us. And I think that's why we're seeing so many people starting to do coaching and do their own businesses and things that are bringing them a lot of joy and light. And that's what's really special. It's like you share your light and it helps them light up and share another light. And it's kind of amazing to think about all the paths that can get lit up that way.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. It's it is a really wonderful. It's an honor to do the work in that sense, to support HSPs in this way. And I think what was the greatest breakthrough for me was having the opportunity to be seen when I was in my own training and having the opportunity to actually talk about how I experienced the world myself, which was, it was such a breakthrough for me because I knew that the way in which I was in the world and experiencing the world was different, but I just assumed that everyone else was experiencing something similar, and that there wasn't really anything particularly important about the way I was experiencing the world. And that was the greatest downfall in terms of my own sense of well-being and meaning and my place in the world. And it was through the experience of actually taking ownership of what my high sensory abilities make possible, and most importantly, what really matters to me in the world. So that's one of the most, I would say, the most exciting part of the conversations that I invite high sensory people to have, to start to tune into their version of that. What is it in the world that matters most to them, and how are they experiencing the world from a higher sensory point of view? And that process of being seen in that way and recognizing that we have a very important role to play can be one of the most important conversations we can have, I think.
Wow, that's really neat. So you received that experience yourself when you were, and somebody asked that in the question ahead of time about like, how did we start specializing in HSP? So it might be kind of interesting to share those stories a little bit and hear from you too. I know our journeys were a little bit different, but I'd love to hear, how did you even land on this? Like, how'd you discover you were an HSP, a sensitive, highly sensitive person with this high sensory intelligence? And how did you even get into where you are right now, where you create coaching, support for HSPs that want to become coaches? How did you even get into all that?
Is Ying a club?
Yeah, so I've always been entrepreneurial. I've always been aware of the ability that I have to look after myself and create an income for myself. But for the first few years of my adult life, doing that was really miserable because I didn't feel at all as though I was really doing what I should be doing. But knowing what that was so, it just felt like there was no way of figuring that out. It just felt like there was this disconnect somewhere, and I was just going to have to live with it. There was no way I was ever really going to figure it out. And when I came through a difficult period in a business early on, one of my first businesses was renovating property. Renovating real estate with my grandfather, which was amazing because I was able to spend all day with him, and he was handing down generational knowledge, and it was really wonderful working with him in that way. But there was this part of me that just felt hidden. It felt like it was just below the surface, and I couldn't engage that part of myself. I couldn't meet myself at the level that I really wanted to. And when I discovered the trait, I discovered it through a lady who I used to work with on a regular basis. She was a Reiki master, and she had a whole range of wonderful abilities. She was also taught Tai Chi, and we used to hang out and talk a lot. And she one day said to me, I can't remember what it was I was talking about, and she said, "Yes, well, that makes sense, Willow, for someone who's as highly sensitive as you are." And I sort of thought, highly sensitive, how dare you? I'm a man. I'm a strong man, and I couldn't link these two things together. Anyway, so I got home and I started to research the trait, and I had heard the trait before about the trait. And when I started to research and started to look at it, I thought, wow, okay, this makes a great deal of sense. I definitely am highly sensitive, but it didn't really help me to just find out about surviving the trait, or, how to, how to deal with it on a day-to-day basis. Like, it helped in that sense, but I knew there was this whole nother layer to it. And I was then very fortunate to meet another facilitator who was highly skilled in facilitating high sensory people. And through that process, what he allowed me to do through it's actually very similar to the facilitation process that I now utilize in the coaching program. But what he did is he allowed me to have an objective experience of what my high sensory reality was really like. In other words, what is it really like for you, Willow, to have this, to be processing more sensory information, which we all do at a deeper level? But how's that occurring for you? And what is it in the world that really matters to you? And through that process, I came to realize that I deeply cared about human potential and human purpose, and my own human purpose. And I realized that through my own journey, having come from a very difficult childhood, I came into the adult world in depression. I was very much in rejection of myself. And through this inquiry, it helped me to become aware of what mattered to me most and how much I cared about the potential of people, and especially high sensory people, and that we had a role to play in the world. And the way to discover that was through getting really honest about what we care about. And as a result, becoming aware that the way in which our high sensory abilities work are in alignment with what we really care about. So through the process of me coming into ownership of that, I then also came into awareness of an innate ability that I have to facilitate that process in other people. So once I started working with and facilitating other high sensory people, I came to realize that I was able to sense and feel the truth of who they were. I'd be able to feel into when they were on track and talking in alignment with themselves and when they weren't. And through the years of running those facilitation sessions, I realized that we all have a very similar path or access into the truth of who we are by these core areas of what interests us, how we're seeing the world, and the way in which our journey through life has trained us in a particular area. And then that became my sole focus. And as a result of that, that's how I developed the high sensory coaching program and working with the people that I do today to help them to have that objective experience of who they are so they can then claim ownership of it.
Did you enjoy this episode? Leave a text or voice comment. See link in the description, along with more resources.